family, and welcome back to the Ebony Odyssey. My name is Jermaine Long. I am a servant of the Most High God. I really appreciate you for coming along, and as always, enjoy the journey. Today is the final message of the bag. However, I titled it Bag, Beta Male, Alpha Male, Godly Male, right? And now we are on to the Godly Male. And I just want to touch base and hit these points, man. And of course, the godly male example that I will be using is David. And I have a couple of scriptures, so you're going to have to bear with me, man. But I hope you guys have understood and enjoyed some of the content with the beta male, alpha male breakdowns. And without further ado, let's get into King David and the godly male. And so my scripture, I have, multiple of this. So I'm just going to kind of get into it, and I'll leave the link for the scripture into the bio. Here it is. And as the coffer of Yahweh was coming into the city of David, Milcah, daughter of Shaul, was looking out through the window. She saw King David leaping and whirling in the presence of Yahweh, and she despised him in her heart. Then David returned to bless his household. But Milcah, daughter of Saul, went out to meet David and said how he had gotten honor today. The king of Israel, who has exposed himself today before the eyes of his servant maids, like one of those empty men exposes himself. David said to Milcah, in the presence of Yahweh, who chose me over your father and over all his house to commission me as Negad over the people of Yahweh, over Israel, I'll dance in the presence of Yahweh and will hold myself lightly. More than this, I'll be lowly in my own eyes with the serving maids of whom you spoke. With them I'll get honor. And Milcah, daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death. Other translations say that he went into her no more. All right, family. Breaking down all these scriptures. And I jumped around that section, and it's in Kings. But jumping around that section, this just tells the story. And I want you to understand the godly man perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, David had many wives and concubines and sin and all that as well. But always came back to the Lord. And when you really have to understand what Solomon said in Proverbs 31 about finding a wife and her worth being far more than rubies, because you can marry the most beautiful, the most gorgeous woman in the world. She can be the best chef, homemaker, best mother. You can marry this person, right? And guess what happens when she despises your relationship with God? Just like Solomon, she would turn your heart from serving God. She would keep you from celebrating because you wouldn't want to look a certain way to the people. But David was all about the action. A godly man, more than an alpha, more than a beta, but a godly man. However you see me is however you see me. But I'm going to serve the Lord regardless of how you feel about me. I love that. I can have conversations, and we all voice our opinion as men. We try to have understanding. We sometimes give godly counsel, sometimes we give worldly counsel, sometimes good counsel, sometimes bad counsel, right? You think about the counsel that Job got, right? You think they hated him, all that counsel they came up with him against. But I just think about some of the situations that you go through. As a man, people get so caught up on these terms, and now they trying to fit into this and that. When you hear them, that just sounds weird. That sounds unintelligent. A real godly man, we not here to dictate. We can lead, but guess what happens if somebody don't want to be led? Mike Tomlin said it best. Man, I want willing participants. I don't want hostages. People who are willing to participate in life with you are the people that you want. Man, I want you to understand what I'm saying. People that are willing to participate with you in life are the people that you want and the people that you need around you. What do I mean by that? If David was out there dancing and yelling and shouting for the Lord, why ain't you out there with him? Right? Why ain't you out there with him? How could it be that you, the wife of one of the greatest kings ever, would not serve your husband or be by his side in anything that he was doing. We never had understanding of what Solomon was saying. Far above rubies. If you a fool, then I'ma be a fool with you. You don't have the devotion. We ain't devoted to God like that, so it's no way that a woman that we choose could be devoted to us like that. And that's what it really comes down to, man. People have a lack of devotion. David is devoted to God. David is devoted to God's purpose for his life. I hope you understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about David. David is about that action. He doesn't care what people think. He doesn't care what people say. His heart was set on God. Yeah, he went out and he did the wrong thing here. He did the wrong thing there. But his heart was set on God. I want to pull out another scripture. And I know this was going to be long, but this is the best one. Proverbs 21, verse 9. It says, dwelling in the corner of a roof is better than a contentious wife in a spacious house. You can have the biggest house in the world, but I'd rather be in the corner of it than to dwell with somebody that is contentious at all facets. And they say, well, that's being a beta male. No. That's being a godly male. Because godly men, we don't give people what they deserve, right? Sometimes we do, but we try not to give people what they deserve. We show more mercy than people could ever know. You have a spouse, they just want contention. How big are you to walk away from that contention, to not give that negative energy? So, that's beta. Man, we're not trying to force people to do our will. God don't force you to do his will, and he's the alpha of them all. No, we allow people to do what they want, and from the decisions they make, we move accordingly. If a woman doesn't respect you, and you have a hard heart, and you can't let it go, you let her go. That's as simple as that. Now, I don't know many men that want to go out and divorce their wives. And if you want to listen to what everybody else say, the statistics support it's the wives letting go the husband, not the husband letting go the wives. And even here on the island, it is not that way. The man only has to go and say it one time. But, talking and having understanding of this, that you have a whole council of men come around, because a divorce is a big thing. We just take it too lightly in America. To be divorced over here, man, requires you going to the elders, requiring you to have counsel with the elders. Everybody, arbitrates on the behalf of, hey, this is my party, that's my party. If the woman is in the wrong, they say, hey, go back to your husband. Get out of our house and go back to your husband. That's where you're supposed to be. Like, what you're arguing about is foolish. What you're upset about is foolish. And that's wise counsel. Most people don't understand that's wise counsel. And because they don't understand what wise counsel is, they say, I'm being oppressed. I'm being this, that, and the other. No, that's wise counsel. You have a person that's willing to take care of you and make sure that you have what you need to have. This minimal argument that you guys are having is not worth throwing away a relationship. But foolish people will say, no, they can't control me. And we can talk about the foolish. It says in Proverbs 14, chapter 1, the wisest of women build her house, but folly tears it down with its own hand. And if you read other translation, it says a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. How is that? Why would she tear down her house? Because of a foolish decision. How much effort is required to build and to do something that is great, that will stand the test of time? How many foolish things happen within that time period? But you're making something great. All the ingredients that go in ain't perfect, but everything that gets put into it produces a great product. Man, I ain't trying to sound foolish to y'all. What I'm trying to tell you is what a godly man does. A godly man is not going to go around forcing his will. A godly man knows how to lead. He's not going to engage in every little squabble, every little fight, because it's not necessary. A godly man is focused on God. A godly man can lead his family out of harm's way. But guess what happens if, someone is not understanding that and rebellious toward that? That folly will put them right back in danger. Look at this. It's funny how David said this, right? David said to Milcah, he said that God had placed him as king over Israel. But what did he say about her dad? He said that Yahweh chose me over your father. I think we miss that sometimes, because sometimes we look up, or these young ladies look up, if they have a father in their life, or they have that role model in their life, and they've been treated like a princess. But God gives you that person. And if God has given you a person, because you can't be with your father forever, and if you're not with your father forever, he has put this person over top of you to protect and provide for you and to love you and to guide you in the ways that you should go. Can you be submissive and not dismissive? But at the end of the day, people get mad that God has chosen you to assume the role that the father would be assuming had he still been in charge. Now, how many young ladies nowadays disrespect their fathers? How many sneak out? How many have sex prior to marriage? How many times has a father tried to instruct not to wear this, not to go that place, not to do this thing, and they disrespecting the father by doing those things? So now that rebellious spirit just carries on over until disrespecting the husband in the same manner. So finding that wife is far above rubies, because that's going to be that helpmeet beside you, making that godly man even greater in the sight of others, and it allows him to stay focused on God's purpose for his life, right? The godly male. Many men, if vetted correctly, you can find those godly males. It's staying away from Jezebels and concubines and identifying the queen that they need, key. And only through wise counsel can all these things be achieved. But again, family, I appreciate you for coming along. And as always, enjoy the journey.